Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 459, and today we're doing battle in a Singleton Gauntlet. And so this will be our first Singleton Gauntlet of the Heart of the Huntress variety patch. This is the first time this format has been around to the best of my knowledge. I know that we've had Singleton within the Heart of the Huntress format, but I don't think we've had it since the variety patch has been released. I think it's been Eternal only since that came out. And so the big card we're going to be looking at today as we look to take advantage of some of those variety patch cards is going to be Cosmic Call. This card should be having a magnificent impact on the Singleton format, as the two big control decks of the format already were going to be things like your Seraphine piles, and so your Seraphine back alley bar decks. They're typically Seraphine and Noxus, and then the third faction is kind of whatever you want it to be. It's very easy for those decks to dip their toes into Mount Targon and get access to the Cosmic Call. And then as we've been seeing in Eternal, the kind of Victor Aphelios style PNZ Mount Targon style control deck will be more than happy to start including Cosmic Call, as they already played a lot of the Invoke package anyways. And so I'm not looking to kind of directly hammer home one of those basic style of decks. I'm looking to showcase a little bit more of the format as well. And so first and foremost, though, I will say, this deck kind of has three angles to it that I'm really trying to drive home. Piece number one is going to be that Invoke element with Cosmic Call. You can see some of the other Invokes that we have across the board, like the Celestial Trifecta, the Star Shaping, the Fangs, the Moondreaper, and the big boy herself, Aurelian Soul. But the next card I wanted to really kind of touch in with this deck is the Cobra combo. And so that's going to be the kind of second pillar of excitement that we're bringing. Valley of Imitation was one of the new additions within the Variety patch. If you're not familiar with what you could do with the Variety of Imitation, along with the Beguiling Cobra, as if that landmark is on the board, you play the Cobra, and then from the Cobra's abilities with the Valley of Imitation flipping over, it just copies itself over and over and over again until you have this completely full board of Cobras. And so you just have the opportunity to get 5 4/7s on the board, along with the extra one getting that additional +4/+7. Can be extremely challenging to deal with if your opponent's not trying to actively beat you before, if you're just sitting around dirtling like we tend to have with these Invoke style decks. The Cobra can kind of come out of nowhere to really take that down. And so I feel like with leading in with the Valley of Imitation and the Cobra, that lends itself to also including some of the landmarks theme. There's a little bit of overlap between the landmarks and the Invokes kind of themes, with cards like Star-Tipped Peak really applying itself to both kind of themes. And so I feel like there's a nice little meshing between the two ideas here, between playing the Cobra combo and the Cosmic Call style of Invokes. The last thing that I really like in this style of format is playing a lot of predicts. There's just this little smaller density of really high-powered plays in this format, to where it's very easy to say, well, I drew my Feel the Rush and my opponent didn't. I drew my Buried in Ice and my opponent didn't. Or in the case of this deck, I drew my Cosmic Call and my opponent didn't. And that was the easy way that I just came in and took over the game. As we're playing Singleton, that density of cards that you're really looking to combo off with isn't as high, and so having access to the predicts to search up those cards could be quite useful. And so there's a bit of overlap in strategies here as well, with things like Zillion adding to the landmarks theme, but also giving us a predict. But this is why I also like playing cards like Ancient Preparations, that has the overlap between the things. Aspiring Chronomancer is a good early game unit that can also predict. Just a fantastic way to be like, okay, well, if the most important thing we can do in this format is play Cosmic Call, you're just trying to naturally draw it, and I have like 5 predicts in my deck, I should be much more likely to hit the Cosmic Call before you're able to do it. And so that's the deck. That's what we're doing battle with today. But before the battles begin, you know what we got to do? We got to go and pay that pay-to-win price, and we're going to do it with the landmark today, the Valley of Imitation. We unfortunately haven't featured it. I just took it out of the deck. We unfortunately haven't featured it in any of our videos as far as Eternal goes, but I'm curious how much of an impact this guy is going to be making in Standard, as the upcoming format will be switching back to Standard as the new set's released here in about a week and a half. And so I'm curious to see if the Valley of Imitation doesn't have something going on there, because it was very interesting in the sense that, God, what have I done wrong here? Oh, I picked the wrong deck. Okay, I was pretty sure I made the deck right. I was like, what did we do wrong? Oh, we just picked the wrong deck. I'm kind of curious, is like with that last variety patch, to where we saw things like Cat Attack come out. and they weren't entirely supported in the variety patch. You had to kind of wait on the next set to come out before we saw the subtypes theme. I'm kind of curious if there isn't a little bit of that here as far as the cards like Valley of Imitation goes. If like we're going to see a Grant theme turn up, or if we're going to see the kind of landmark style thing that it's capable of doing turn up in these next sets. But nonetheless, reasonable enough early game start here. We'll hang on to Chip. We shouldn't have too much trouble finding a landmark to get him activated. We don't have a great start in that sense. You know, it's going to take him a bit of time to become a 3/3, but I think, you know, if he's in the deck and you're not keeping him in your opener, then you're just doing something completely wrong with Chip. And so if he's drawn in your opening hand and you don't want Chip, then he just doesn't belong in your deck. We'll stick around with a little guy. Little Chip and Malphite running around, you know. You got the you got the full combos here. Xerath turning back up. Okay. Let's take a predict. We already found our Cosmic Call. That's, you know, pretty useful. And now I think I'm good to just go with Ancient Preparations. It's gonna activate our Chip, and then we can just dig for another piece of the deck that we need. Like, I feel like this style of game, if we get the Chip up to 3/3, he's probably going to be able to hold down the board on his own. And then we should probably just be digging up Invokes since we already have the Cosmic Call. And so I don't think it's too early to be picking up Star Shapings. Like, the opponent's playing some kind of Demacia, Ionia. I assume this is a very, like, Challengers heavy style of deck. And I think that we're just going to have the time here in the early game and not get comboed out or anything. And so I think picking up that Invoke is going to be just fine. So nothing too exciting for this turn. You know, I definitely want to take the full 3 bank into turn 5 and just go ahead and rip off the Cosmic Call. I mean, if you got the most powerful thing you can be doing right now, and your opponent's not putting on any pressure, then I think you want to come out and take advantage of that. Oh, cool. Guarantee you our pass is just way better than his. Now, do we want to actually make this attack to start off with here? Like, I don't think we're too worried about this Lucian. His blocks here suck, and if he wants to spend a bunch of mana on combat tricks to win some of these things, like, I'm pretty okay with that. So, very nice attack. Now we're just open to Cosmic Call. It just feels like as the worst thing that could happen, like whatever opponent does, if that's some kind of activity with Lucian flipping or playing a challenger and a barrier or something, like, we got tag out in hand. I'm not ultra worried about what the opponent's able to do on the board here.
The fate of mortals ends.
All right, so Shen comes in. It's like, I just think we have plenty of time, right? I mean, we have the Living Legends, and it's cheap and everything, but I think we have plenty of time to just kind of clear out our hand a little bit. So I'm good to go ahead and add Xerath. We don't have any landmarks at the moment to really help him pop off, but he does have fairly meaty combat stats, and then if we want to return something to hand, we still have the tag out as well. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of time, then everything will be okay. Interesting seeing Lucian come in. He just has to have a combat trick like, oh, yep, he does have a combat trick. I was like, he just has to have a combat trick like 100% of the time, right? And I'm fine to trade any card in his hand for our 2/3. I forgot that he had the freebie there in in the Sonic Wave, though. That did not pan out exactly how I wanted it to. A little bit of whoopsies, but I think it's still okay. Just get the big guy on board. Look at that, a little bit of father and son, a little Papa and Chip out here. Get this guy in here and attack, and look at that, he's close to flipping. We got 1 mana worth of landmarks onto the board. It's Malphite's getting ready to pop. We'll hang back with our Clockling and our Chip, though. They're just going to run into Shin and get beat up. It's another one of these spots to where I'm in kind of like the same mindset as that previous turn, as to where You know, if opponents spending combat tricks and cards out of their hand and their mana to get these crappy units we don't care about off of the board, that just feels like winning for us. This feels like one of these games where we won the game like 3 turns ago. When we got the no pressure Cosmic Call Off into Living Legends, but it's just going to take us a little bit of time to actually get ramped up to where we're going to play these cards. So, like I would not be surprised in the least if we played Aurelian Soul before we actually played Living Legends this game. It's just going so much in our favor at this point. But let's see, what's this? Cadrigen? Our hand is like a bit awkward. Like, not going exactly how I want. Like, we're in this weird spot where I just want to start playing cards for the sake of playing cards. Like we can block with Malphite and then just Ancient Hourglass him just to get this stuff out of our hand. I want to spend this mana. He's doing some kind of fighty thing. It doesn't actually do anything, right? It puts some damage onto Malphite, but it's kind of whatever. And then we don't want to blow up the landmark, right? We want the stasis statue to make it to the next turn. So this is fine. We'll just empty out our hand a little bit. Move forward. What are you bringing us? The Fangs? It's just like I don't even want any of these cards. I just want to empty out our hand so bad. Let's just go with the Moonglow. Right, I'm just gonna send Shen back to his hand and pass the turn. And then we'll look to add Aurelian Soul next turn. I feel like that's got to be enough to just get us right to the edge of winning. We'll have 20 power of units on board, assuming nothing dies. And so getting that flipped Aurelian Soul with the Living Legends and everything, we're gonna be in pretty tip-top shape if things go normally. And then if things even just go poorly on this next turn, I feel like we're still gonna be in pretty good shape. This is what all those filthy control deck players love doing, isn't it, huh? I just want to sit around until turn 10, play a bunch of bullshit cards that don't matter, and then, you know, we can see if we win it from there. All right, Stormbringer Aurelian Soul, delivering us a second Living Legends. This game's got to be done at this point. Curious to see what Lucian's up to. Taking that hook in with the barrier. I was curious if he's gonna go for a kill or something there. But all right. Whew, this is so much more boring in comparison to just playing just playing aggro decks all the time, huh? Can we don't have any way to just get 2 power of dudes on the board? That's a bummer. I'm sorry, Malphite. We shouldn't have got you into so many combats. I think it's still gonna be fine though. What do we pick up here? Meteor Showers and Denies. Alright, let's just start playing cards. We'll make sure the game ends this turn. Opponents bringing in their Royal Shimmerwings. It's gonna pale in comparison to the power we're about to pop off, so feel pretty fine with that. So we can try and take this Lucian off the board. Now we'll be able to play the 5 mana Living Legends, pick up 5 dudes or 5 new cards along the way. 6 new cards. I feel like it's got to be enough. I don't know, man. It's like as you're in this turn, an opponent has played a Shimmer Wing and a combat trick, and we're about to double Living Legends. It's just the power level is not exactly there for the opponent. All right, so let's empty all this stuff out. We hit a fairly low-cost set of cards out of this one. I think we're going to be fairly short in terms of the lethal. I think we might just want to push into the next turn with this. We're going to have the flipped Aurelian Soul. All right. No need to get too crazy here. We'll just take a... you guys are just going to be in for a 4-hour video today. I hope you're ready. I hope you're ready.
I sense an imbalance.
Walking is strange.
Alright, so we'll drop the heal on Aurelian Soul so she doesn't die. There's another Living Legends, always pretty cool. Now I just want to throw some blocks down in front of these things. I think we should be good from there. Be kind of annoying if he kills our Aurelian Soul, but I don't... That takes a lot of work to get an additional +5 attack. Like, I guess you can riposte, and that gets you pretty close, right? If that would give the Shen +6 attack, that would be enough to take a Soul down. But, I don't know, I'm still just not worried.
I created galaxies faster than this.
Sure. Alright, time to pop. The Traveler, what do you got for us? Cosmic Inspiration sounds great. Go ahead and play that one for free. Get our Bomber Twins on board. See if we can't get this extra card out of our hand. It's going to put a landmark in hand, but might be able to play it. We hit a 1 mana. Nope. Life can be hard. All right, roll those dice again. What mountain of free cards are we going to be playing now? All right. I don't know about you guys, but this is the payoff. This is the fun part for playing control decks, I guess. This is the payoff everybody wants.
She's almost as old as me. Almost.
Hey, let's start emoting. Maybe they'll just concede.
Try keeping her down. My magnum opus.
It's like we still got so much mana. It's like I'm ready to just stop playing cards, but we got all this mana out here. Might as well spend it, right? There he goes. Alright, GG. It's nice to do it in the first game. And I guess we gotta look to Cobra combo from this point forward. We got the obnoxious the obnoxious Cosmic Call Aurelian Soul game out of the way. I'm actually curious with this if like ramp just isn't the way to go. Like it's a little bit of a meme deck that we have at this like current iteration to where we have the Cobra combo in here with the landmarks and stuff. But in terms of like if we were going to be playing a legitimate like best of 3 Singleton tournament, I think I would like to just have ramp tied into a lot of this deck. Just like Frey Lord is ultimately so powerful in this format. I don't necessarily know if Frey Lord's really the way to go like right now. Like it's probably still is, just like with Warden of the Tribes being so good. But That was one of just like the real power points in the past. It's like you jump into Freylord and you're like, cool, I get easy access to stuff like Buried in Ice and Feel the Rush and Tryndamere and Revna. And if the games are just going to be like really slow and grindy, uh, you have a lot of opportunity there to just outdo your opponent. But into this one, though, up against Victor Seraphine. This is, again, just the same style of control deck that we're doing. They're only playing 2 factions, though. I'm curious if this deck isn't actually going to try and to play the, like, Allegiance Invoke dude, whatever it's called, the Mountain Scryer, since it's just, you know, very, very affordable for their deck to only play a handful of P and Z cards. Alright, I was a little bit worried about this Zoe popping off. We don't have a ton of interactivity to get in front of her with, but we did pick up Tag Out to send her back to hand potentially if she gets close to flipping. Alright, Ancient Prep. Haven't found any of our really high-powered cards. Like, Celestial Trifecta is kind of close, but let's just skip over these. I don't think that's what we're really trying to accomplish today. It's a nice supporting card. It's not really a game breaker in this space. He says, I got the Pale Cascade. And he's like, nah, I want a Star Chart instead. See if he can't dig up that Moon Glow for Zoe. So what's she getting up to? She's only at 3 ticks at this point. We do have a fairly like landmark heavy draw we can pop here. We can Desert Naturalist the Ancient Prep and then try and get the Salt Spire going. Our hand doesn't do too much otherwise, but like I guess it's a little bit cleaner to maybe just say play the Salt Spire here on Raveled Earth next turn and then Naturalist one of the Roiling Sands. I think I'm on board with that. We're gonna get this full board and just mess up our Cobra, and so it's not gonna do what we want it to do. Well, we're doing landmark stuff. I guess that's fine. Can't summon any more allies this turn though. I don't know. We're not really combating the opposing deck well. Like we've drawn all of this landmark style stuff, and this is just one of these spots where an opponent can be like, "All right, cool, block." You know, there's not a ton that we can really come out here and do about it. But we did pick up more answers to Zoe, which is nice. He's getting her scarily close to flipping. And, you know, we don't have the mana at the moment to tag her out. But we did pick up the Tellstones to potentially hush her. So we'll see if that comes down next turn. The bonus for us is there's not any ways in Targon PNZ for him to, like, really protect the Zoe. I guess you can try and drop spell shields on her, but it doesn't really strike me as a deck that's going to be like, okay, well, I'm going to play Bastion, right? So I think it's safe if we can get into this next turn without her popping off. I mean, he does have a Dusk Petal. He doesn't have any... He doesn't have any... what do you call Star Charts, though. Pretty safe hush, and then if it really comes down to it, we can look to Gruesome Theater her back to hand, right? We still have the mana to Ionian, Tellstones, and Gruesome Theater, Ionian Tellstones is a very interesting card to me. It doesn't get talked too much about in terms of the Ritual of Renewal just getting a buff in the most recent patch. Like having this tied into burst speed heal card draw is actually pretty interesting. I mean, the limiting point in Gruesome Theater is kind of meh. Like the other cards, you're not in that same kind of spot as you were with, say, what was it called? Like having Homecoming tied to the Tellstones, and you were basically playing the Tellstones as Homecomings number 4, 5, and 6, and then the other cards were just things that were kind of like icing on the cake. I don't think you're never playing the Tellstones for Ritual of Renewal 4, 5, and 6, and you're probably not playing it for Gruesome Theaters, and so it's the other cards are kind of lacking, but this is most certainly a big upgrade that hit on the Ritual that didn't really get any hype about it, if you will, in this most recent patch. Well, why not Cobra, you know? Why not Cobra?
Join the glorious evolution.
Did we want to come in like this? Like, I still feel like he has Pale Cascade in hand. That was a card we thought that he was really looking to play earlier. And so I guess if we trade the life steals, like Lifesteal Pale Cascade for the Rock Bear, it's not terrible. This heal? Heal and ally. So we can... I guess we can't heal Cobra anymore. Our combos have been zinged. Alright. Maybe that was too greedy. I don't know. And he hits Spell Shield right away. That's kind of nasty. Kinda nasty. Well, can't really pop off with his Victor at this point. Let's just pass and see what happens. Immortal Fire is a little bit scarier. Let's go ahead and get rid of that one. Like, the Victor hasn't completely popped off, and he hasn't done anything to take advantage of the created cards cost 1 less at this point. So I think it's okay to take that a little bit slower. We're never going to get a lethal this turn through combat, so I think we want to open and see if he'll just do something that doesn't matter. And then we can kind of Nightfall the Lunari Priestess and then maybe get something from there. Like, there's some argument that you can, like, Tellstones, not play it, and then Priestess, and that leaves you with 6 mana to play and Invoke with, but it's not... Let's be real, that's not very exciting. But we do have the mana to do all of this stuff, right? We can pop the Spell Shield, then Rite of the Arcane, and then try and Lunari Priestess. It's not super clean, but it's a potential answer to Victor here. I'm eyeballing this written in the stars. Like, some of our champions are good hits, like Aurelian Soul and Malphite would be pretty nice, and then some of them are just like just dog shit at this point. Drawing Zillion at this point is just like an expensive predict. Maybe we got to stick with the Meteor Shower just as an additional damage point to try and kill this Victor with, but ugh. I forgot he hit Regenerate. Like, as soon as I clicked the button, I was like, fuck, he hit Regenerate. This is not gonna... this is not gonna go as intended. Oh, you gotta be kidding. Oh! LOL. You did Not behold a celestial. Womp womp. He is playing Bastion. Wow. Okay, I guess. Not what I was expecting. What does old Bust know? Apparently nothing. Apparently nothing. So I guess we'll pray to RN Jesus that this Victor doesn't just pop us out of nowhere. It's impact. He hasn't been landing the biggest of skills. That's a little bit of a bigger skill.
The heavens diminish.
It reminds us there is always more to discover.
Holy shit, he's attacking. Oh my god, that's so dangerous. There's unfortunately nothing we could do about it, but...
Listen to me.
Wow. You just get the chance to untap with Aurelian Soul to this board where you deal no damage. Okay.
The constellations bow to me.
Oh, that's bad. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. We could have left those units on board and just tried to attack this turn. I guess that's something that we had access to that I didn't give enough credit. Like, we're really close to getting that lethal just opening here. Like, we would have had 7 on board. It's tough to actually get the kill there, but it's probably better than what we were doing.
Sunlight guide you, my brethren.
Now we got to deal with this flipped Aurelian Soul. Now, the thing with Aurelian Soul is it's very easy for him to just fucking miss, right? A lot of the times we come out here and play Aurelian Soul, it's just like, oh boy, we played A Soul, and then we hit like a Moon Glow, and then we hit a Moon Silver, and we hit like 4 mana of invokes across 3 turns. He's not invoking into big stuff. That's just the playability, and so we have some potential to fight through.
Devotion through battle.
But that was it's tough. I think seeing that low life total would have been a bit of a bait. It's just so easy for opponent to either like Mystic Shot one of our attackers or have a Guiding Light or have, you know, just something to heal a little bit. And then there's just no recovery for us from there. Oh boy.
I hear you, son. Now you're about to hear me. Don't have to be sharp to make a point.
Oh boy. Talk about hitting the good ones, huh? maybe you just hit Moon Silver, or maybe you do a little better than that. We're still in it, though. Well, probably not anymore, now that he's popping off with this stuff. Okay, sure. But that game, it illustrates my point perfectly about why I like the predict so much in this format. What did we draw that game that was actually relevant? Like, what high impact plays did we hit? We did not hit any champions. We drew literally 0 champions that game. We didn't draw Cosmic Call. We hit our Cobra, but we didn't manage to find the Valley of Imitation. Like, what you consider the really high impact plays in our deck, we drew 0 of. That was even with 2 or 3 predicts along the way, to where you see opponent, they had Aurelian Soul, they had Zoe, they had Victor, they had Seraphine. They had like all of the big hits that you really want to be out here predicting. And that's, you know, what a lot of these games can come down to, is just saying, all right, who's out here just doing the absolute most powerful thing? It wasn't me, because I didn't draw anything. And that's, you know, where opponent really hit. Just like, I love having access to all of those predicts in this format for that kind of thing. And that game was just the absolute perfect illustration of, like, what are you supposed to do, right? We're both spending, you know, relatively the same amount of mana, but the impact of the power level of the cards that he's played has just been so much higher than anything that we were able to do. So they're very powerful in that sense. Alright, into the next one. This the same guy? I don't think so. What do we got here? A little Demacia and Noxan combat-based number. Sure. So let's just hang on to the prep, see if we can't find some other early game stuff. There would have been a little bit of argument to actually hang on to that Smooth Mixologist, but it's like we have a non-zero amount of 2-drops in this deck, and we have some early game like high-powered stuff like Zoe and Zillion, and so I'd find to cycle away the 4-drop at this stage. Lead off with a peek, though. You can just hit so much nonsense with this thing. Say, oh boy, we hit a danger noodle and a stun. Let's battle.
No room for doubt.
What do we got in here? Nothing super high powered. I think we just let all of these go. I could see an argument for star shaping, but it's gonna be pretty slow at this point.
I keep step with the heartbeat of Noxus.
Not really a matchup for the Valley of Imitation, but see what he can do. Can be relevant next turn. Like if he, there's a card in Magic that was good back in like 2001. It was called Chimeric Idol. It was a 3/3 artifact for 3 mana, but you had to spend 0 mana and then tap all of your lands to actually activate it. And for the most part, that's a pretty heavy investment to make, right? You say, okay, I'm not going to have any resources until my next turn, but I have this random 3/3 or this random 3/3 on the board, and it was, you know, the interesting spots with it would be like you're running into this space to where you can't just like hit it with a board wipe, right? If your opponent sees your landmark on board and plays Castigate, the Castigate's not going to hit the landmark, but you still have access to that unit later in the turn. And so it could do some neat stuff like that as a way to dodge around some certain things. And then there would be cards that, to where if you just had a bunch of, say, artifact mana, then that was unaffected because the thing just tapped all of your lands. So there's a neat little like throwback, a neat little homage to cards like Jade Statue, Chromatic Idol. I think I'm sure there's been other cards similar to that printed in the history of Magic, and very, very interesting to see this pop up. That's what I immediately thought of when I saw the Valley of Imitation. It was like I'm not smart enough to pick up what all the combos with this card are going to be, but I certainly remember the stuff that he did in the past in terms of having those interesting situations. You know, if your opponent has Buried in Ice, right, then he starts to be a little more interesting. Let's get into combat here. Like, I'm happy to trade these chargers for anything. One of the things I do wish with the Valley of Imitation was that it would show which of these cards was specifically it. I know that we just gave it up, but if like you're not super aware of what it is, I guess you can see that this charger was created by Star Tipped Peak and know that that's not the landmark. But if we play the Fangs, there wouldn't be any way to tell the difference between the two. What's happening here? We're taking like 10.
Something I said.
Seems fine. I think we'll be safe after this upcoming turn. The scary thing here is like this Lucian is gonna be pretty close to flipping after this combat. Back to back. I haven't seen a back to back in ages. I love it. So are we okay with this? Like, we're gonna play Talia this turn, copy the Salt Spire, then have the Fangs next turn. I guess he's not playing P and Z. I guess at this point die to Decimate now, but we're just about to pop off here so hard. As long as he doesn't specifically have that one copy of Decimate, I think we're okay. But I mean, we could have Scrying Sanded or something to ensure that didn't happen to us. So the Fangs comes in. We don't have the mana to double Crescent Strike, so let's just go with the Charger. Like, if he plays a 5-drop or something, the game's just done. We should be pretty close to the game just being done anyways, but if he only has the mana to add, like, one dude to the board, it's most certainly done at that point.
Today we turn the tide of war.
Alright, I'm going to tag his shitty units here. Somebody has to block Talia, and so it's got to be either Lucian or Kato, right? And then he's probably in a spot to where, granted, didn't do any mathematics here, but he probably has to block the Grumpy Rock Bear as well. And I'd rather him just lose his actual good units in this interaction.
Go ahead. Scare me.
Got him. GG. On to the next one. I don't know, man. I don't know if we're gonna get the Cobra combo today. maybe Singleton wasn't the format to try and showcase the Cobra combo. I'm curious how that's gonna land in standard. Like, I played against it a little bit in Eternal, and it was in kind of one of those spots to where you can kind of like see the potential for the nonsense, but you're just kind of like hoping it doesn't happen. It's like it's a deck that should just be getting annihilated by anything with the Legion Rearguard in it, and that does a lot in terms of just kind of keeping it out of the format. But as you go into standard, which is like a step slower, and the interactivity doesn't mesh out as well, you gotta worry about that combo a little bit. It's like, I'm curious if Riot even knew, right? The one of the devs was coming out and saying, you know, like, hey, you know, this card's here, it's gonna be buggy, you know. If there's essentially, you know, if there's something like completely game breaking with it, we'll probably fix it, but there's no way to really kind of QA that card and figure out how much of a problem it's going to be across the board. And that's how a lot of the reviews for that card went. It's kind of like, well, if it works with Cobra, I guess that'll be something neat, but you know, I've read it and still don't understand what it does, so who really knows? I think that's the kind of space we stand in with the landmark, and so I'm not certain how I feel about releasing something like that on the masses. Like, I guess as we're in the space of digital card games, it's not that big of a deal. You can just go and edit it to work how you want, but it strikes me as a scary one to to release on the world. But alright, in this match we got some kind of 3-faction number here. Demacia, Freylord, Targon with Lucian in it. Not entirely certain what we're going up here. We've gone up against a lot of Lucian today. He's a popular fella in these parts, I guess. What do we got here? Don't really want any of these. There is like the Aurelian Soul in hand, which, I mean, we already have Cosmic Call, but I can't bring myself to keep a 10-drop on turn 2 of the game. Like, if we're playing against that PNZ deck, like PNZ Targon, knowing that we're playing into that kind of mirror, then fine. But this deck with Lucian in it, I don't feel as safe doing that kind of thing. What do we got here? Zerath is going to be a little slow. We don't have a landmarky kind of hand. I just feel like the Concussive Palm is probably good enough.
With the power of time, the possibility
I just feel like between having Cosmic Call and Celestial Trifecta and then a Behold the Infinite if we need it, like, we have the late game on lockdown at this point. It's just a matter of not dying until we get to like turn 8, and then we'll be okay. We'll do that. Let's start chart first. I kind of want to get out of this turn with that 3 mana. I want to be playing the Cosmic Call next turn. He's just not doing nearly enough aggression to make me worry about it. So let's see what we can pop off. The Danger Noodle's pretty free. We'll pick up a fresh star chart after this. We get a Hush out of this play. I think Zoe's definitely worth protecting here. Like, she's getting scarily close to flipping for the opponent. She's up to 6 at this point. So it should be pretty tough for these factions to deal with a Zoe. thought they added something to the Lunari Priestess. I thought she was like the Moon Dreamer, to where she shrunk the cost of the invoke by 1. Apparently not. as we look at the text on the card, that's not what it does anymore. All right, just hitting everything we want. Very nice Equinox deal, taking his 5 mana card and making it worthless for 1 mana. No complaints from me. Get Zoe up to 7 ticks. Do we want to push for a flip on her next turn? Like, we can play Preservarium now. I think I'm okay to go a little slow.
Shining softly.
Bask in her radiant blessing.
Now we can probably pop off, though. Well, we're a touch short in the sense that, like, I guess we can Preservarium, Celestial Trifecta, and then hope we invoke into, like, a Moonbeam or something. That's kind of a place. It's just... Gotta get these new cards out here. We haven't played the Charger yet. Golden Sister is obnoxious with a flip to Zoe. And then coming out of these, let's just go with the Destroyer. Just once we know our Zoe's flipped and that ability is active, being able to do the Spell Shield Overwhelm is a game breaker. But man, this is the thing I was preaching the entirety of the Eternal season, the whole way through. You have to have some kind of answer to Zoe, right? It doesn't matter, like Zoe or Samira or Aphelios, you can't just let these units come on board and just sit around for 5 and 6 turns and just do obnoxious shit. You gotta have some kind of way to come down and try and interact with that. Whoa. His units just got big. No, I don't have the mana to Cosmic Call. That's on me. It's like, I was eyeballing how good this was going to be. I guess we didn't have the mana entirely to try and pop that off, but... Alright, so I just want to get into next turn and play the Golden Sister, right? And it's like, the Desert Naturalist is the worst card that we could add, because it's going to put 2 units on the board. Right, it's going to replace the Preservarium and have the Desert Naturalist come down, so we'll have 5 units in play. We just definitely want to go into this next turn, be able to play the Golden Sister, get the elusive one out of it as well, and have that boost the whole squad.
Are they still here?
All right, letting the fun begin.
What once was 2 now is 1.
Yeah, look at all those keywords.
Daylight star will rule the
So he's got the elusive one here at the right. We can quicksand that away, and then we should be able to call it a day.
None dare stop me.
Maybe not. You can get out of this. Still feels like, I don't know, it's going to take a lot to recover out of this. Like, our abilities don't go away, so he does have some decent stuff out here, but it's going to take him quite a bit of work to fight through this. Your lone champion. I'm so sorry, my dude. I'm so sorry, Lucian. You're out here by yourself all alone. Oh man, sad day for you. So his units are all bigger than ours. That's a little bit of an awkward space, but I think this is still just going to be completely fine. We get so much heal battling through this. I kind of like Concussive Palm onto the Golden Sister just to stop him from gaining a bunch of health.
You are beneath me.
Don't really need to make all of these blocks. I guess taking 18 is a little obnoxious. Alright, we'll take 6. I think that's fair. See, Gat's gonna bring in a little bit of Troll Chant on us. He's still got 2 mana to do something with.
If they leave you, they can be broken.
What do we got? The Valley of Imitation? Why not? Why not, you know? let's just get this guy up and running. He doesn't even get the bonus stats? He doesn't get that grant? What a dumb card. Probably. I was like, we're probably gonna lose because of this. Well, you gotta say we got 1 win with the Valley, right? You gotta say that your deck unlocked it somewhere. Okay, next battle. It's gonna be going long. We're at the 51-minute mark. This is kind of my thing with Gauntlet. You know, I was a big supporter of the push to Gauntlet, and I think it's making positive progress. I think I have to kind of lead with that, and that I feel like Riot has done an exceptional job with the advent of competitive 2.0, and then you know, while not completely hitting the mark with every single iteration of something that happens, I feel like they've been pretty close, even if they didn't completely land in a good spot, and then B, they've been iterating on everything fantastically, and so the jump to competitive 2.0 had some of its hiccups, but that got kind of fixed pretty quickly, and you know, then the kind of addition into Gauntlet and the changes to the opens and everything, I have been, you know, supremely impressed with how everything has gone. And that's how I kind of feel with Gauntlet. I feel like Gauntlet, my problems with it are, you know, we're in this for like halfway through, we're in for an hour, probably going to be in for another hour before it's all said and done. And then at the end of the day, like that time investment is going to result in 10 trophies. And there's like no like wow factor to unlocking trophies. You know, it's like you just like see the numbers hit the screen and just go, okay. Like it's just there's just nothing else really going on with them. And I feel like that's kind of a bummer. And then with the reward path, everything is all kind of tied in to like having to grind super hard to hit those buys, but then like it's easy to forget about, and then if you missed some time, it's like really like disheartening to want to go and jump in. And I don't know what the answer is to it there, but it feels like it's just lacking a little bit of something that I wish it wasn't. I don't know. I don't have the perfect answers, but I feel like it's a definite improvement over the last set. It's just not quite 100% there, so it's tough for me. Like getting in the space of Gauntlet is to being like, okay, well, I need to like practice for this upcoming open event, and you know, my greatest opportunity to prepare for the big event is going to be just grinding on the ladder and hitting the highest ranked players on the ladder that we can, because I don't have like a team at home to sit around and practice with. And then that kind of lands in the spot to where if you jump into the gauntlet because you need to hit the you need to hit on the trophies, and then you're playing against like Iron 2 players because the matchmaking goes too fast. It just it turns into a real bummer across the board, and like I don't have the complete answer to everything there, but it just feels like it's slightly off. All right. Going on here, this is fine. I want to protect our Zoe. He's going to have a combat trick or something on this turn, and I plan to follow up with a Moon Silver into Homecoming, and then ideally on next turn, we'll be able to clear out some of this board a little bit with the Serpent. Like, we can even, like, Valley of Imitation into the Serpent if we want to, just as a way to... just as a way to try and clear out some of these units. Like this Samira and Akshan are pretty high powered at this point, and we need quite a bit more time to really get popping, but spending all that mana on Valley, spending like 3 mana on Valley of Imitation feels like kind of a dud. It's just like we just draw Talia, and I'm just like eyeballing the way to take advantage of that Valley. It's not quite there. Alright, I think the Golden Sister might be the answer to this. Like, opponent's going to open attack on us next turn, but I think we might be able to kind of fight through it. We might just be able to survive just enough and then get our lifesteal units up and running. Depends on how hard he's going to be able to combo us. Like this Samira is very important to deal with here. But Zoe's getting close to being nasty. I wonder if the answer here, instead of like dropping the Moonglow onto Zoe like we always do, if we should be dropping the Moonglow onto the Danger Noodle, and then having that be an answer to a little bit more protection facing down this Samira. Because if opponent comes out and has stuff like Whirling Death, we're gonna be hurting. This is just a pass now. He's got 6 mana and he has a Samira on 5 ticks. If this Samira flips, he's gonna OTK us next turn. Let's just stop there. We can answer most of this stuff. Like if he doesn't open, then we have just like the oh shit, we don't have Crescent Strike. I thought we had a Crescent Strike in hand. I think this is still fine. Leaves Riven at home. Makes sense.
I know your true heart. You were misguided.
Something like that. That feels like enough. I don't want to tap down below Homecoming. After this attack ends as well, we can look to Desert Naturalist off the Warlord's Horde and just make him take forever to actually level up this action. Right? Since action will need to strike again before the next Horde hits the board. Seems legit. I don't know. Maybe it isn't. It seems like it is, though.
I whisper truth into lies.
And I thought there was something good to see.
Alright, so we got that nonsense out of the way. And then, I feel like this turn, if we can just, like, protect ourselves with Homecoming. And then on our next turn, we get to Golden Sister down off of the flipped Zoe. That feels like it should be enough. Like, I don't want to look to add any of these cards right now. If he completely taps out or something, then we can maybe add in the Endless Devout. But again, that takes up space on our board, and we can't get both halves of the Golden Sister down. It's gonna be some kind of strike card on Zoe. We're fine in that sense. We can Homecoming out of that. We could have actually just let this happen, right? We could have just made sure she flipped with this Moon Silver, but I think that's fine. Sending Dum Dum back to hand there. Double check. Right, she's a 9 of 10. As you play the final card, all of those abilities will go on your units. And so if your 9 of 10 unit has the keywords, those will still spread everything out. So everybody here is going to get the Elusive Lifesteal, even though that was the 9 of 10 ability there. Okay, definitely want to get rid of this Samira. Now, we do have to worry a little bit about things like Kaisa popping off, but I don't know. We're in a league's better spot than we were just a moment ago. So Zoe's gonna die. Cosmic Youngling's gonna die. We still get to remove Samira. Gain a bit of health. Okay, I dig it. It's tough to see that spell shield that was on the Serpent, but we loaded that friend up a few turns ago. Look at this. Look at this. We got this 1 of 5 Talia ready to go. That's obnoxious.
I do not break rules. I bend them.
Alright, so the thing we're going to look to do is I'd like the Celestial Trifecta, and then see if we can't hit, just an expensive Invoke for a couple of turns from now. And so here, would have been nice to have found a Crescent Strike. It's not here. Probably just want the Trickster at this point as another elusive generator. Meteor Shower seems fine. And then the big one. The Scourge, the opposing deck should have trouble with, but it doesn't get us out of any real problem scenarios. Guess giving our dudes all of the stats isn't that terrible, but we struggle to get him on board next turn. Just kind of eyeballing this Cosmic Inspiration and being like, oh, if we're not going to play the dudes this turn, we might find ourselves able to just grow everybody for the rest of the game. Alright, I like it. Are we at 10 of 10 in hand?
When we look ahead, we know how to
Put
prepare.
tag out on top. Just give us a little bit of interactivity here.
Even a fragment snuffs out lives. I won't look back.
Alright, how bad is this? he's still got all these flipped champions on the other side of the board. I don't think you're supposed to be in good shape when your opponent has this many flipped champions. So we can keep this Concussive Palm for Riven. Gonna copy onto Kaisa, but she's not gonna flip or anything. Her having Overwhelm is kind of scary, but is what it is. And then our blocks just aren't very good here. I wonder if we should have just gone ahead and Meteor Showered the Riven. Oh shit, he got supercharged. The fuck does that come from? Alright, well, I guess that happened. What else? What else are you supposed to say about it? I guess that happened. So what's going to happen here? He's going to mirror image the Riven. We should have just stunned the Riven. That's going to be the problem now, isn't it? Yeah. That was the play. I missed the mirror image in hand. So it's like 16 overwhelm. Ugh.
Surprised to see me.
Listen to me.
So here we fall to 2. That's we don't necessarily have to win the game on this next attack. It would certainly help, but I think we probably just have to have something go right here. I mean, I don't know what the chances are that these units are kind of able to survive combat. The only real, like, concerning card at this point is going to be Quicksand. It's like if he doesn't have Quicksand, I feel like these 2 units and their life stealing are going to be able to do all the work we need. Let's see if this pops. Alright, so far so good. Get another elusive on board in the Trickster. Let's see if that's enough.
Fool me once, shame on you.
You should be able to draw his predicted card, right? You have the Warlord's Horde on board and you just predicted. So you should be able to... Oh, we're getting quicksanded so hard. Like, there's nothing else we can do, but... Right, when you predict and you have the Warlord's Horde on board and then this stuff like Flare... Oh, that's not so bad. You, it's like you can just clearly play the card, pop the Horde, and then draw the cards off the Horde to make sure you have the answers. So. Alright, well, we're not dead. Still facing down this 4 champion nonsense on the turn, but we're not dead. Alright, sure. GG. So it's not that bad. I'm still happy with how that game went. Like, the thing that I have to say about that kind of game is your deck has done literally everything right, right? You're playing this, like, very champion-centric Akshan Samira deck, and your board is literally Akshan Samira, LeBlanc, Riven, and Kaisa. And your deck is doing just, like, literally everything that you want it to do. And you're very close to just getting smoked, and so that does not give me high praise for the Akshan Samira deck as you run into that kind of space. Like, I feel like if your deck is, how could that draw have been more perfect? Right, would have just been the addition of a swinging glaive. And to be in that state to where you're still just so close to losing. He drew a Samira that game as well. He literally drew all 6 of his champions. And so that's, is that right? We managed to kill off Samira. That was like the big mistake that he actually let us do, was he didn't realize the Samira was going to go down. But he had Akshan and Samira. He had Riven, he had LeBlanc, and he had Kaisa. I assume there's another champion in the mix. He probably drew it given the way the game went, but... That's bonkers. We probably could have selected something a little bit differently along the way. I kind of felt like there were some spots. Well, I guess the big thing in that game to where we really got trounced was we didn't stun that Riven, and I think that's where things went to shit. We took like 14 damage we didn't need to take. Right, it was 16 attack coming in from Riven, and we got to block her with 5 health, so we took 11 off of that when we should have probably taken 0. And then being at 20 on that next turn, it really kind of it changes your options to where you're not like, okay, I just have to play a unit and win the game. As we had tag out on top and removal spells in hand, we could have taken a little bit of a different angle there, and so I think that was the big one. It's like the way things are kind of cycling in my head. It's like, well, if we have to worry about this Kai'Sa, you can never let Kai'Sa attack, right? That Kai'Sa was just not doing fuck all. I actually, I was playing games earlier in the season, just kind of trying to brew stuff, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, why doesn't anyone play Kai'Sa anymore? It was like, I was sitting here, I was like, this seems amazing, being able to play Kai'Sa. I don't remember what all was hanging out within the deck, but I knew that it was like really just getting ready to pop off with all this awesome stuff we were going to do, and as playing games and hitting with like the scout units and everything, and then I played the Kai'Sa expecting her to flip off of her quick attack, and it just didn't do anything, and I was like, excuse me? I'm pretty sure Kai'Sa is supposed to flip at this point, and then that was when I realized that they took quick attack away from her, and I was like, that's why no one plays this card anymore. And so I guess we can shelf this deck. And so I don't know the answer there. I know Kai'Sa is a very there's a lot of not fun elements that come into play when it comes to playing against Kai'Sa. So she probably deserves to have the quick attack stripped, but I'm curious what happens if you take her level up back down to 5 now that she doesn't naturally just give herself quick attack anymore, if that's a viable thing. And it's probably just too dangerous. I think Kai'Sa probably at the end of the day just needs a rework. It's one of those champions to where, especially in the Veil of Eternal, she just gets better and better and better as time goes on, right? You print more and more keywords, you print more stuff that goes in Evelyn decks. Like, there's just so many ways to kind of enhance what you're able to do with Kai'Sa that I think you probably just don't want that. Don't want that champion around in her current state. So what do we got here? I mean, I guess this opposing deck has Echo in it. This is just a Teemo build around with the chimes and stuff. It's like I lean towards wanting the Trickster, but I know that we can predict up enough smaller plays. But I'm trying to think to myself what we ever hit with the supernova that matters, and I guess there's probably something. But see, this is what I'm talking about now, is we have the Moon Dreamer, we have the Valley of Imitation on board. Like, as I pick up my units, I don't know which is which anymore. And I hope that this one, after I picked them up, they didn't rotate around, because I want this hook into Chump Wump to land on the Valley of Imitation, right? So the damage just kind of cycles away. I really have no idea what is what now, which is ultimately super annoying. But we'll make our way through it, I guess. Why not? Why not? Why couldn't we do something like that?
That's a harvest right there.
We do it right? Interesting. I didn't know that was how it functioned, and that the landmark just stays Moondreamer forever. I'm not opposed to it. That's a unit that I wanted in hand, but I didn't know it functioned that way. Okay. Seems like we're getting a nice build up here. He hasn't really done anything. I guess you got to worry about Mr. Thrift. When one or more of your traps or boons activate, plant 2 in the player's deck. Okay.
There they go.
Passports hold.
Alright, I'll take the blocks. So if he wants to flip his Gnar, he needs to Pokey Stick us to face. And then even if Gnar flips, it's not that big of a deal. This is what life's all about, right? Just drop the big mountain.
Because I am a mountain.
Maybe we'll get a Malphite flip this game. Who knows?
Written in the stars.
I think this is fine. Like, we don't have the combat tools to really protect the Fangs. Like, we're not even playing Pale Cascade in our deck, and so just getting an Invoke, a trade, and a gain 3 health feels like a bit of a win. You might get multiple strikes in. Nice.
Well, what have we here? Securing the perimeter.
Okay. Landmark. Alright. I guess that's kind of hitting a landmark. If we really want to flip our Malphite, we can play the Bomber Twins, drop the landmark, and then homecoming the landmark back. We're not going to do that, but you know, the option is there. Maybe we'll do it next turn just to say we flipped our Malphite. How does it even work? I have to ask Grandpa Roji how this card actually works, right? It's a round start.
Final moments of a star.
When I'm summoned or round start, if you have the attack token, create an unstoppable force. So we're not gonna round start that. It's too bad. And our Moondreamer falls. Okay. Feel like we're in pretty good shape here.
So many stars.
Are you going to attack? You going to send that Caitlyn in? What do we got in here? 25 puff caps and 5 flash bombs. Alright.
They've never seen a contraption like this.
There it is. Emperor's Diaz into Homecoming. Into Emperor's Diaz again. That's how you get the Malphite flips the way it was meant to be. What's that? That's the Bandle Tellstones. Sure. Alright, anything cool? Living Legends is probably good enough. We can empty out most of our hand here pretty quickly. Like, I'm realistically looking to just play the Emperor's Diaz and then Rite of Arcane down Caitlyn. Guess we could have realistically attacked first if we really wanted to get that dude in, then sure. But I think the game's probably just over at this point. Just get some more of this stuff out of our hand, right? Got to get these big and fantastic Living Legends on the board. No.
I dropped everything.
Oh, that's lame, dude. Dumbass card. What a dumbass card. Oh shit, I meant to play our Smooth Mixologist. I guess that'll get our Malphite flipped at this point, but that wasn't exactly the order I wanted things to happen.
Coin buys drink or news. I've got both.
We'll get the Unstoppable Force in now, though. I think he's doing stuff.
Shining softly.
He doesn't have any cards in hand. We should be good. It's that mini game you have to play with Malphite as to where you can't put your units on the board because you know they're going to get stunned by the Unstoppable Force, so you have to wait on your opponent to play to play the Unstoppable Force so you can put your one unit on the board. But we have stuff like Concussive Palm to get around that. We should be ending this one in short order. As long as we don't die to all these puff caps. He drew a mushroom cloud. Not today, Timo. Not today. GG. Alright. Did we make our way to that final battle? I don't think we're going to get the Cobra combo today. Oh, we got 2 more games after this. Alright. 2 to get to that final battle. Forgot we were going for the 2-hour video today. Hydrate. Let's do it. Oof. I can already tell you with this deck, it's garbage. It's tough with Singleton in the sense that, you know, you want to create reasonable content for the people. And just like outside of the personality aspects, like in terms of the just deck building and the deck itself, it sucks to like not be able to put in that little bit of work beforehand, right? Like I almost never, I would say maybe like 1 video in 50, I'll just like take a deck list and just run it and not have to play games. That typically like comes about if I just don't have time, right? If I'm really busy in the day and had to work over and do family shit, then I'll just be like, all right, well, I gotta churn something out, so let's just take this deck list and run it. We can probably figure it out. But for the most part, I typically at least get in like 5, 10, 15 games with a deck before I even like think about making a video with it. But you can't do that with Singleton. It's like you get the 1 buy-in and you're done for the day. And so it's like you have an idea that you want to play. And is there even like a Singleton queue? Like, are you able to play Singleton outside of the gauntlet? Maybe you can queue into a friend or something, but as far as I know, it's like you just jump in and that's it. And so, you know, I didn't have high expectations for this deck, but the landmark theme just doesn't work. Right? You need to be playing like the Shurima only Sundisk landmarks, or you need to you can just play like the Invokes deck. The meshing together of this to where there are some like small synergies within everything, they are not big enough to call this a whole deck.
The dead don't need riches.
But opponents coming at us a little bit. They're playing Gangplank Sejuani with Samira's in it. You know, we're falling a little bit behind, but we do have the answers to some of their champions if they start to turn up. So I think we're okay. Their aggression got kind of limited there, right? The open attack with only a Jagged Butcher doesn't feel like a super strong turn. Now we can just add like 1 dude and feel pretty okay about what's happening here. Like this is like the way I see this now is like the open attack next turn doesn't look that spectacular, and if we get to Moonsilver Golden Sister into a Quicksand, like we are just so far ahead at that point. Or even here, if like he plays Gangplank and we get to Sunbursting, I feel pretty good about that as well. But we're just gonna recover so fast out of this. Alright, Moonsilver, Golden Sister, lots of cards here. Don't want to don't want to click the wrong one. Yeah, we look strong. You can even look to say like block with the Golden Sister and then just tag her out and replay her to get that additional unit. I don't think it's going to come down to that, but we got some options in that sense. Taking the hook, sure.
No fixing that.
Or I mean, we could even It's interesting with the Golden Sister and the Hourglass. Like, we can block with her, we don't get the lifesteal, but then with the Hourglass, we do get unit back, right? So you get the additional summon with the second Silver Sister coming in. It's interesting. I'm looking towards, like, it's tough with the combat cook. This is the biggest unit on board, but the thing that actually matters here is the equipment. Like, you can see that we can take a full quicksand into the combat cook and have a safe block with the Golden Sister. Like, that's kind of what I'm leaning towards here. It just sucks that he gets that equipment back, because that's the only card that actually matters.
I bow to no one.
But I think this is fine.
You are beneath me.
I like this bigger protect on the Golden Sister. It's kind of easy for the opponent to deal 1 point of damage, right? With Make It Rains, Parlays, whatever you're playing in that sense. It's a little bit more challenging for them to deal 2. So, hope she's safe. Yeah, now we gotta deal with these combat cooks coming back out and stuff. Not really what I was wanting to run into.
Evening glows.
What? Picked up Scrying Sands. Oh, hang on. Oh, we did not do those mathematics properly. No, it'll go down to 1. Okay. Jeez. Like, my eyes went big. I was like, oh no, this block just does not work anymore, and it turned out okay. Alright, so the Hourglass goes through. We don't get any lifesteal this turn, but we'll get an additional Silver Sister next turn. Zillion come in for some blocking duty. It's the Cobra, am I right? Am I right? No thanks. We'll put the Cosmic Call on top. And then I think the kind of key thing to note for the rest of this game is being like really diligent with our Sunburst. We probably gotta save it for either like Sejuani or Gangplank. You can't hit a flipped Swain. Looks like Swain's probably flipped at this point, but you can't take Swain down with the 6 damage, right? He's a 7 healther on flip. So we'll see how this plays itself out. I think for the moment we're safe to just pass. I'd love to see him just spend a bunch of mana, and then we get to just Malphite the big unit, but didn't quite come together that way. Still, incredible turn for us. Less incredible now. I think that's good. I think we're going to have time to Cosmic Call next turn. I'm looking to just open attack with the Golden Sister. Like, if she trades with anything on board, it's fine. If he gets to play cards out of hand to make this attack not good, then we can potentially pivot away from the Cosmic Call. But as it stands right now, I think this is just like a real pain point for him. And now that we're going back up to 17, feels fantastic. We have to actually worry about this Elegant Edge. Like, he can hit us for 8 next turn. It's kind of a lot. But let's YOLO. Pick up the Cosmic Rays. It feels like a turn where it's not unreasonable for him to just try and drop a bunch of nonsense units on the board. And we'll get the chance to clear those out, especially if he wants to come in and start making these scout attacks. Ooh, drawing all the time bombs now, though.
Let's do this.
So this is a little scary, I guess. Like, if he's got a Sejuani, then we're pretty fucked. But without a Sejuani, I think we're okay, right? He can Sejuani onto Malphite, then hook Malphite with the Legion Saboteur, and then he gets to hit for about 500,000 damage.
Your king has returned. I'll
It's like, is he ever going to add more units to the board? Because I'd really like to get to Cosmic Raise the powder keg away. Alright, let's live dangerously. I feel like there's going to be like one more that comes in before he attacks. I don't think we're being like too shady here, right? If we pass with like 7 mana, then opponent's going to be like, oh yeah, something's up. You know, something's about to happen. But when you tap down to like 2 and 2, like 2 real mana, 2 spell mana off of a Malphite, like that's not, I don't feel like a big indicator that you're, you know, about to pop more spells on the board. Tombs Malphite. Alright. Are we dead? Kinda close.
I'll show 'em pain. Hit 'em all. You again?
Takes us to 4. Alright. Well, I'm a little scared. I'm a little scared. That was a pretty painful turn. Maybe that Cosmic Call was just a little bit too greedy.
No need to make a name for myself, just an impression.
I wonder what this deny is going to be able to do for us. So I'm gonna drop Chip. I'm gonna drop Sunburst onto Gangplank. This Time Bomb should kill off Samira. We'll get back our Malphite next turn. Riptide Rex. Alright. Damn. I guess that Cosmic Call was too greedy. But I don't know. Like, we were like right on the edge of coming back from that. But maybe the more realistic option there would have just been to deal 4 damage to the... To play the Rite of the Arcane onto the Fearsome unit. And then that's where like a lot of the damage was really sourced there. Probably just a little bit too greedy, but nonetheless, good set of games. We can pull this up and talk about it a little bit more. And so again, like this deck, not very good. You know, I always talk about in terms of deck building and what you're expecting out of your deck, the classic Ron Swanson quote of, I don't want to half-ass anything, I want to whole-ass one thing. And that, you know, just means your deck really needs to have a lot of direction. And you don't want to be building these decks to where you have to draw some kind of like 4-card combo to really get that one exciting gameplay to where you actually win. And then you just lose all the other games to where those big cards don't come together. And so it's like we did have some, you know, kind of adjacent strategies with this, right? We had Zillion kind of tying in with the landmarks and the predicts that we want. We have the stuff like Ancient Preparations and Star Tip Peak that kind of tie into both the predict and the landmark, or the invoke and the landmark. But at the end of the day, the landmark piece of this just like wasn't directed enough, and then we could have just built out a much better invoke style of deck. And so I think it's still fine to really kind of like hammer in this predicts package. Like if you want to play PNZ and you want to play Targon and you want to play Shurima, and then within Shurima you're like, okay, well I get some predicts. I get cards like Zillion, which is just a great early game blocker and to predict, and then I get stuff like Avenging Vastaya and Rite of Negation. Like those are, you know, very valid reasons to kind of branch out into Shurima. But to branch out into Shurima to also do the landmarky kind of stuff isn't really where you want to be. And so I think it's still in this space to where if you want to be playing a landmarks based deck, you can. Like the Talia Malphite versions, I don't think are particularly good, but you can look that route. I think if you're wanting to play the landmarks deck, you're just playing the Sun Disk, and within the Sun Disk, you're just including all of the landmark cards so that you can come in and fill out your deck. But that's like enough, right? That's enough tie-in together to where Zerath is the big winning point there, and he's happy to have all the landmarks, and it still ties back to the Sun Disk. Like that stuff's all well and good, but we were definitely half-assing this deck way too much in terms of trying to get the Valley of Imitation and the Beguiling Cobra together with the Invokes package. But with the Invokes package, highly impressive. I think this is most certainly to where if we were going to be playing a bunch of competitive Singleton, this would most certainly be a tier 1 deck, and it would be the kind of backbone of the format in terms of everybody like has to have the baseline matchup of the Cosmic Call matchup be what you're looking to face down. Because I still have problems with aggro decks in this format. Like, as someone that just loves playing aggro decks, like the thing that's strong with aggro decks and say Eternal is you're saying like, okay, I want to play this deck that has 12 1-drops in it. 1-drop number 1, I'm going to play Legion Rearguard. 1-drop number 2, I'm going to play Crimson Pigeon. And then after that, you start to get into the weaker ones, right? You might be playing Legion Saboteur, which is still good, but kind of weak. You might be playing things like Precious Pet, but you're kind of like stepping down at a much slower pace, to where in Singleton, you're saying, okay, I got 1 Legion Rearguard, I got 1 Pigeon, I got my 1 Legion Saboteur, I got my 1 Precious Pet, that's 4, and now I'm like really scraping the bottom of the barrel to get that other 8 1-drops that I really want, and it just doesn't really strike me as good. And so it's a format that lends itself to being a little bit slower. I think this format probably starts to boil down to doing like ramp stuff with Freylord and Warden of the Tribes against this deck. Because if the Invokes deck doesn't decide to put enough interactivity into it, like we saw in Eternal, it's just going to get smoked. Like, you can't just sit around and like take 5 turns of leveling up Victor and playing Cosmic Call and not actually doing anything when your opponent's going to Warden of the Tribes you, or when your opponent's going to Field the Rush you. And so I think that's the kind of marquee matchups that we'll be seeing in here. And then, you can try aggro if you want. We're certainly going to play a little bit later, but I think those are the 2 big points to think about as the remainder of the Singleton format is here, is how do I deal with the big Freylord deck, and how do I deal with the Invokes deck, because I think they're going to be the big ones. And so stick to those. Don't play this garbage, right? I'm glad we could at least help you out in that sense. And so, good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. So this is Bust, and we thank you for being here.